mean, I think the key to accelerating action really, two or three issues. One, reinforcing the need for action. Clearly, what we're seeing around us at the moment is the physical manifestation of climate change in the recent floods in London, the floods in Germany, the fires in the States. So reinforcing that need for urgent action is really important. I think these sorts of events are great at providing examples for best practice, sharing what organizations are doing, what corporations, businesses are doing in particular, so they can learn from each other. And really starting that process of collaboration, because to reach net zero, which we need for climate action, really is going to take a transformational change in everything we do. So getting those collaborations, those links together so that engagement and innovation can start is a real key takeaway from these sorts of events. Well, I think clearly the main challenge that we face is just the sheer urgency of the situation. The need for change is now very present, and that's being driven at governmental level by the rapid adoption of net zero targets. And really net zero, because it's the end state goal, requires transformation in everything we do. So, all aspects of business are going to need to change to really drive meaningful decarbonisation. That clearly for business creates an opportunity. That change is already happening. So there's a great opportunity for businesses to get ahead of the curve, both in terms of maximizing the commercial opportunity, but also avoiding the risks that potentially come from the transition that society will go through to achieve that net zero end state. In the sustainability world, we've always talked about the positives of being a sustainable business, and they're still very much the same. Decarbonisation usually leads to efficiency, which increases the bottom line. Looking at risk and reputation clearly enhances shareholder value and makes the organization resilient for the future. And what we've seen in the last few years, organizations really value the adoption of sustainable practices because it really attracts and retains talent. People now really do want to work for organizations that are walking the talk and taking this stuff seriously. So there's lots of opportunity, there's lots of positive to come out of adopting sustainable practices. The last 5 years has been fascinating. I've been in environmental consultancy now for the best part of 25 years, and it's always been a little bit of a struggle. You've been sort of preaching to a relatively small audience. The biggest change in the last 5 years is just the awareness of the need for change, and therefore the adoption of interest at all levels in organizations. It used to be the sustainability team arguing the case. This stuff is now driven from the CEO right down. So that's been a huge change. I think the other thing we've seen a big change is, and again in sort of response to the climate agenda and the net zero agenda, the move away from incremental year-on-year targets. Corporations, organizations are now really focused on the end state goals, and net zero being the key one of them. And that changes the thinking. It starts to talk about innovation and long-term planning, long-term investment, business transformation. And that's been a very significant change, probably really only in the last couple of years. Integrating sustainability, decarbonisation into all aspects of business as a result of that. And I think that's really the trend for the future over the next 5 years. I think we'll carry on seeing the embedding of sustainability across all job roles in business. It requires organizational transformation. So that's going to come. Every department will be responsible for this. I think a likely output, an outcome from that, which we are seeing in our clients already, is that net zero as an end state goal becomes part of the purpose of the organization. I think there's a dawning realization that corporations, organizations, businesses are there to make profit, but unless they do that in a responsible way, unless they're part of that net zero journey, they're going to struggle for survival in the future. And I think, that again, beyond the organization, to achieve that transformational change, we're going to see a huge increase in collaboration, across the value chains of businesses within the site, supply chains of businesses, because each year, if you've got to reduce your carbon by 4 or 5%, the first few years of that is relatively easy, but the further you go, the harder it gets, and that requires much more innovation, research, development, investment, collaboration. So I see that as the big trend over the next 4 or 5 years. COP26 is a fantastic sort of target point for lots of businesses. I think it's really generating momentum, and it's putting energy and speed into the adoption of climate action, net zero strategies for businesses. At EcoAct, that's meant that for our existing clients, we've been pushing them harder and faster so that they've got their targets in place and they're already starting to demonstrate decarbonisation ahead of COP26. It's allowed us in a couple of cases to take the debate internally in organisations up the board agenda, get it right on into the board meeting, and really sort of start to ask challenging questions and drive for serious impact within businesses. And that that's what EcoAct's always been about. Our founding principle was that we wanted to help businesses address climate change, and in doing so have an impact for our clients. So lots of work internally, very, very busy, lots of work on science-based targets, net zero end states, modeling of the future and how to get there, and then trying to use that to continue to have impact beyond our client base. So we have a campaign running at the moment called our Net Zero Heroes campaign, that taking some case studies from some of our larger clients who are on the net zero journey or who have already adopted a net zero target, and just talking through with those organizations what their challenges were, how they're making progress, who they've had to engage with, what success they've had, really, and sharing those through our marketing materials to demonstrate best practice, to encourage other companies and organizations to adopt decarbonisation pathways, net zero endpoints. So really just trying to keep pushing every way that we can with our clients and with the interested other companies that want to get on this band train to try and have an impact, because as I say, that's what EcoAct is all about. And COP26 just gives us another good platform to push the agenda and encourage innovation, action, momentum, and some impact.